Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of A Little Bit Unhinged. Casey's here.
Hello.
I gotta say, I really like the Casey's here intro. Like, that's my favorite.
Oh
It
yeah.
feels the most like Casey's here. Like, that feels like that's gonna be podcast legendary intro.
Someday.
Yeah, one day. When we make it in the podcast Hall of Fame, Casey's here will make the intro. How you doing?
Good.
I just like the thought of making it sound like we just showed up in the studio just now and we haven't been chatting for however long we've been chatting.
Over an hour.
Yeah. Just like, hey, what's up?
I'm also watching the new member of the household
That's right.
wander around and kick pillows off the couch.
Yeah, just being an absolute menace.
Which I think we have mentioned already that
We
our
have.
mascot has a new sister
That's right.
who's
Yes.
still in her puppy era, but hitting her teenage phase.
Yeah. Teenage phase and teenage size and strength.
Full of angst and rebellion.
Yes. Full of sounded fury. So I thought we would talk about this episode food. One of the reasons that I thought about food today, I'd thought about it previously, but it came back up today because for my Utah friends, today is Pioneer Day. This gives away what day I'm recording this episode, but I think that'll be fine. For the few people that are listening that know what the hell Pioneer Day is in Utah. But us non-Mormons, we call it Pioneer Day. And so we usually eat pizza and have beers on Pioneer Day, which for dinner I enjoyed a slice of pizza and a beer with my salad. You did Pie and Wine Day.
Yeah, when you said the pie part of the day, I missed the fact that it was pie and beer, so I opened a bottle of wine.
That's fine. I think that still fits the energy that we're going for in the holiday.
Yeah,
for sure. So, what is do you have an earliest memory around favorite food?
Yeah, I guess so, because my family has always had a garden every year.
Mm-hmm.
So we always cook food from the garden, all the different vegetables that we had. Okra was always my favorite, fried okra. So I'm very much a southern person, and
Nice.
fried food, all the beige foods were our favorites.
Yes.
So yeah, that was always a great time of year because my parents, they would make cornbread, corn on the cob from our garden, fried okra, fried squash, green beans or pinto beans or whatever, and then my stepmom would always like fry up a pork chop or something, and it was always so that always stuck out with me. Or holiday food, dressing and all of that. Because again, I'm from the South, so we say dressing. We don't do the stuffing stuff.
Right. No, I'm from stuffing world. But dressing always sounded better. I wish I knew dressing as the term.
Yeah, I like it. And there is a difference because stuffing traditionally is where you stuff the bird.
Right.
And dressing is where it's in a separate pan.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and our stuffing was usually stuffing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though I think all of my family just used it interchangeably because they were so used to it being stuffing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do interchange it because it
doesn't matter. I mean, really, but I know to some people it matters. So my parents are from Boston, and even though my dad's parents spent some time in the South in the Carolinas, mostly they're northeasterners in a general sense.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, the first food that I ever remember really liking is lasagna. My mother made a killer lasagna. So that was always my favorite food when I was a kid was lasagna. We never did, my parents don't have the patience for gardening. I mean, they do now, but they didn't before. So I always did I really liked Hamburger Helper as a kid, and I could make it myself because I was a latchkey kid for a while. So anything that I could just come home and throw together and eat were great. But holiday foods was another nice one because that was when everybody, they always had, my parents were always really excited to be able to provide a big holiday meal because they couldn't have that, because they just didn't have a lot of money. Their kids, and they had big families. So it was always like, broccoli casserole and candied yams or sweet potato. That's another thing we used interchangeably, and I know
Yeah.
they're not. And
I mean, they kind of are. They are different vegetables, but
Yeah.
more or less,
yeah,
it's essentially the same
pretty
thing.
much the same thing. Yeah. But my mother, who, because she's not going to listen to this podcast, I'm going to say this, and only because no one in the family is going to get this back to her.
Your mom can't cook?
She had things she could cook.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought I was just making a joke.
No. But there's a lot of things she couldn't. And I'm not going to say she couldn't cook. She liked things a very specific way, which is a kind of way that I think you just have to you have to like things when you don't live in you don't have money. You know what I mean? And so, like,
Oh, yeah, fair.
so she liked her spinach really wet, just wet, like spinach in the same way you'd make collard greens, like southern wet collard greens. They liked all of their green wet and sloppy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I always expected collard greens to be the cheaper of the two.
Yeah.
Because my family also, they're big collard green cabbage people, and we never really had spinach because what do you do with spinach?
Yeah. We also did. Yeah. We had spinach. We didn't have a spinach a lot, but we had spinach and we had it like that. Also, like green beans. My parents like green beans really wet. It's like a soggy. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. They didn't really like fish, so we didn't have very much seafood just in general. Plus, they weren't really buying seafood.
Even from like Boston area, I thought that they were.
Yeah, no, they did. It was just too expensive.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not in the budget. A lot of chicken, a lot of, beef that's easy, ground beef and that kind of stuff. And so, but what my mother is very good at is baking. And so she would make cupcakes and brownies and blondies and
oh man.
one of my favorite things in the world is a spice cake with cream cheese icing. And so she could make it from scratch. She didn't always, because it's a pain in the ass to make from scratch.
Right.
But she can make it from scratch. And when she did, just kill her. So I always had lots of good baked foods, which is why I'm a hefty man. I grew a large love for baked goods. But I had to grow up a lot. As a kid, I was picky. Like there's not a lot of foods I liked. And as a grown up, I'll eat anything. I'll eat anything. I love to try new things. And it was just because I found out that there is a whole universe of food that we just didn't, which my parents are, again, very happy with. They gave me a lot of good food options, but it was from the imagination of what they had, to grow up with. So it was a lot different. But what about sweets for you? Did you have sweets that you really liked when you were a kid?
Trying to think, because we at my dad's house, he always had a candy bowl, so we always had Sweet Tarts and Spree.
Sweet Tarts and Spree, nice.
That was our go-to.
Nice.
And still, anytime that I go there, right beside his recliner, there's a little table, and there's always a huge stockpile of Sweet Tarts and Spree right there.
That's nice.
And it was fun too when I was a kid because I didn't like the purple Sweet Tarts.
Oh, okay.
And he did, and he didn't like the blue ones, and I did. So we always were able to like trade off all the flavors.
That's perfect.
And so it was a fun bonding moment when I was a kid with my dad.
That's nice. My mother but the thing I had to tell her because they don't sell them in Utah anymore is devil dogs. Which is if you guys don't know on the pod, devil dogs are it's basically a long sandwich that's got cream in the middle and then two like devil food cake halves, and it's kind of shaped like a I don't want to say shaped like a hot dog, but it's oblong. It's an oblong. It's got a creamy center. And then it's got devil food cake, chocolate devil food cake tops. And so I sent her a picture when I moved to the South of them because they're readily available here, but she can't get them. And she called me and yelled at me because she was jealous. and she was angry that I sent her a picture of them.
Well, she can have some soon
She can.
when she visits.
I had to tell her. It's so funny that you mentioned that. I called her because yesterday was her birthday, and we were talking about food because my father is just you're going through what folks getting older are going through, and he's taken some medicine and has changed the way he eats, and so there's just not as many foods that he likes that she likes. So I had to say, well, you know what, Mom, when you come out here, we're gonna go eat. Like there's a bunch of places I'm gonna take you to. If he doesn't want to eat, he can find something else. I'm not playing games. I'm not trying to figure out food for picky ass Charles. He's gonna have to figure it out. And so she was very happy I told her that. But they're very excited. I really want to get over to, there's a place that sells oxtail that I had a bad experience at the second time I went there, and I didn't get any oxtail after waiting 2 hours, but I really want to go there. So we might get her out there.
Yeah, you definitely need to try that place again.
Yeah, I'm excited for that place.
Yeah. Going back to sweets, my grandmother we always did Sunday dinner, and she would always make lemon meringue pie.
Ooh.
And it was always from scratch. It was so good. Or I think it was from scratch. I don't know. I was a kid, but I believe that she actually made it from scratch.
It's not worth it not being. It's just worth it for it to be from scratch. Like in your memories and in your heart, doesn't matter. It's from scratch.
She made it every week. She always had a chocolate one and a lemon one because I didn't like the chocolate. So the lemon was for me.
I'm not a fruit pie guy, so I like chocolate and like French silk but I did have, so I went out to the Jack Daniel's distillery, and there's a food place called Miss Bobo's.
Yeah.
That's like legendary, and it's Sunday dinner style, I want to call it. Like you sit down around a table, you sit with strangers, and there's food around, and they had pecan pie, which I normally is not something that I would really like. It was one of the best things I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's absolutely killer. Absolutely killer.
That reminds me, because she made pecan pie too. Rice Krispie treats.
Oh, I love Rice.
I don't know if you've ever had mine.
No.
I think you have.
Have I? Did you bring them? No, did you bring them to the Christmas party?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Then they were amazing.
Yeah, because I make them a little bit different, and I use my grandmother's recipe.
Yes, they were amazing.
They're totally different from what everybody else makes.
Yes.
Because most people, you see Rice Krispie treat, they're white. They have marshmallow in them. Not mine. Mine use peanut butter.
That's right.
And they are superior.
That's right.
And I remember when I was a kid that Rice Krispie treats actually came out when I was a kid. Like I remember the commercial, like, "Ooh, finally, we make them for you," kind of a thing. Yep. And I was so excited because my grandmother did not make Rice Krispie treats that often.
And then you found out they were not what you were expecting.
And I opened it up and I was like, "Why is it white?"
Yeah.
And then I tasted it and I was like, "What the fuck? What is this?" And I discovered very quickly that most people know that they're made with marshmallows, and that's not what I was used to.
Okay, so here's the thing you don't know. I've never had this conversation with you, but now you get to hear it, and the podcast friends get to hear it too. Our friendship hinges solely on the quality of those Rice Krispie treats.
I don't doubt it.
Because, so we had met before, but not really, right? Like that was really our second real meeting.
Yeah.
At that party. And the first time we ever really had a chance to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
So I was told about those Rice Krispie treats. And both I and somebody else at the party, I can't remember whether it was Shannon or somebody was like, "Oh, these are Rice Krispie treats, but they're different." And I was first going to be judgmental, like, "Excuse me, I need my marshmallow Rice Krispie," because marshmallow Rice Krispie treats are one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, okay, these better come correct, because I'm gonna be mad if I have Rice Krispie treats in front of me and they are not what I'm gonna enjoy.
This bitch better know what she's doing.
No, seriously, that was seriously this. Like, look, I don't know her, but I'm not gonna know her if these aren't enjoyable. Like there was a judge in there, and boy, I had those, and whoever I don't know if it was Melissa, somebody, boy, I bit those, and I was like, God damn, these are good. Okay, we can be friends now. I can speak to this young lady because we can be friends now because they were amazing.
And now I have a podcast.
And now
we're on episode 9. I think it's
9.
9.
Yeah, now we're on episode 9 of the podcast, basically almost solely off of the strength of those Rice Krispie treats. So I'm glad that came up because I forgot that I haven't told you that before.
That's amazing because for me it was the time before that when we were at karaoke and you knew the
That's right.
because I'm a pothole.
Pothole. Which I think about every time I drive in my neighborhood. There's potholes everywhere. That's an aside. That's another aside. Yeah, we had a good time at karaoke too. Karaoke was cool. But that was but you know, this is a total aside, but we got time for it. You know, I moved out here to the South because of a friend of mine that I worked with in Little Rock. And I was just looking for a change. I was like, I've been in Utah for a while. Not very many people get an opportunity to just up and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go somewhere else where I knew people. Well, then you meet friends of friends, right? And friends of friends are usually cool, but friends of friends are generally friends of friends. Like, hey, this is a person I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see them around randomly at events because they're a friend of a person that I know. And look, any friend of Karen's is a friend of mine as far as I'm concerned, right? So already... Just like,
well, we
okay.
met at Melissa's first.
Oh, did you met? Oh, okay. Well, yes, we met at Melissa's first, but here's the thing. When I see pictures and I go, oh yeah, that's you, but I do not remember any moment of you and Melissa's at all.
We shook hands and said hi, and then that was it.
Okay. Because I would feel really bad if you're like, oh, we had a conversation because I looked back at pictures and I couldn't remember, and you're like, we met, and so I saw the pictures of everybody, and you were across the room from me.
Yeah, we did not actually interact that time, because I remember we shook hands, we said hi, introduced ourselves, and then, because I think it was a Seder.
Yeah, it was a Seder.
For anybody who, because this is also food related, for anybody who is not familiar with Jewish culture, is the Passover Seder has a bunch of, I don't know if rituals is the right word.
Rituals is fair.
But you have a lot of food-oriented stuff, and you drink a lot of wine, and you read I'm blanking, because Purim is where you read the book of Esther, and then Passover is where you read...
I'm not as good of a guest as I should be. I'm usually just... Is that the corn? No.
No. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Gosh, this is going to drive me nuts because I've been to so many.
I know. But she does a good job of changing it up, and that helps me not remember any specifics. Because that one was that one a Harry Potter one? No.
Yeah, I think we've done the Harry Potter one and the Haggadah. Yeah.
Oh, the Haggadah,
Yeah, we read the Haggadah.
Yeah.
Because we also have done the fucking Haggadah before.
Right.
But there's, like, you start with, like, some parsley and salt water that you dip the parsley in, and it's supposed to represent the tears of... I'm not Jewish, so I'm going to mess up some of this, so I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit and just do the high level. You do some parsley with some salt water, and then you have haroset on matzah crackers, and we always end with, like, Melissa our friend makes matzo ball soup that
She'll
we all
be on
have.
the podcast at some point. It's okay to say her name.
Yeah, okay. Melissa. And so it's very food oriented, but it's also doesn't give you a lot of time to actually intermingle with everybody except for beforehand and after. And we didn't know each other very well. So we talked to the people we knew.
Yeah. And I didn't live here. So this was me being here to just visit the folks that I just see in Dragon Con.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just an opportunity, I was just hanging out with the people I knew that I don't only get to see once a year usually. So that's just the way that went down. But yeah, I felt bad because I was like, you were there and I was there. I don't remember.
It was just the way that is set up. There's a lot of people. We talk to who we know. Then you go through the whole ritual and the scene, and there is a lot of wine. You specifically drink multiple glasses of wine for the Seder.
Yeah,
so
we got drank. Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why did I bring that up? Oh, because we were just talking about how we run across each other. Because we met there, but yeah, because you just kind of meet with friends of friends. But it's interesting how regularly you meet friends of friends around food. Especially our group usually has an easy time getting people together around food. Almost an easier time getting people together around food than anything else.
That's true.
Really.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't think it would be surprising to find that being the case with almost any big group people. It's probably easy with a big group of friends to get people together around food and occasions where you would have food, I guess. I did want to ask you though, because you brought up Sunday dinner, which is not a tradition that I am familiar with. What did that entertain, like what was that? Was it just you got together for food? Did you have any traditions around it?
No, it's pretty literal. I went to my grandma's. She always made Sunday lunch, with a bunch of food, and we hung out, went home. Like there
Nice.
wasn't really anything extra to it.
Okay.
Um, I think football season maybe was different, where we
Sure.
would always go for football games on Saturdays because we were college football people.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it always happened where we had Sunday dinner as well, but it was a very common thing. And I really, because I was so little, I don't know if we did it every week or
Sure.
just like every
Sure.
now and then, but
Just remember it.
it was, yeah, we just went to my grandma's, hung out. My uncles were there, cousins. Me and my older cousin played bullfighter, where I would like be holding up a blanket that was my
Charge.
and he would charge it.
You know, that again is another side, but we got place for a side. What? Why does everybody know bullfight? Like, how did bullfighting get into our? And like for me, I'm sure it was like Bugs Bunny. I'm sure it was cartoons or something.
Oh, absolutely. That's got to be it.
It's just such an interesting thing
Yeah.
that got into everybody's brain when it's not like
It's a deadly sport. Like you kill the
yeah,
animals.
that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it's not just a frivolous.
I think it was Looney Tunes because I remember it on Bugs
Yeah,
Bunny,
I remember it. I could almost describe the cartoon.
and they just don't show you the dagger where
No.
you're trying to kill the poor
No,
bull.
it's just goofy. But even the fact that that was prominent in Looney Tunes, like of all of the things.
Well, there's a lot of things in Looney
Well,
Tunes
look,
that.
no, I know Looney Tunes gets on some bullshit, but like if you take away Speedy Gonzales, which is its own conversation, it's just so strange because it's not like it had like. I'm trying to think of some other international animal-based thing that it could have in it. Just bullfighting was like the main.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just weird. I found that just really random and strange for that to be, and for so much of us to really know, because I don't see, I don't remember seeing real bullfighting except like when the internet existed.
That's a great point because now that you're bringing this up, it never
Yeah.
hit my mind. But yeah,
Never.
this is an actual question.
Yeah, like never. Anyway, that's not food related, but you brought up bullfighting, and so.
Yeah.
Do you have any in your life now food traditions?
I guess not really. I mean, we still have holidays
Sure.
and all the Christmas dinners and stuff, but um yeah, I don't know that there's an actual tradition really
Yeah.
besides, around holidays. Like
Sure.
there might be over the 4th or whatever
Right.
barbecue or hamburgers and hot dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that there's anything that's specifically food related besides holidays.
Yeah. I think of Pie and Beer Day as I brought it up. That may be the only one I have where it's just like I really try to have pizza
Yeah.
and beer that day. And I was just thinking, there's got to be others. There's got to be other ones where and I guess I could say Super Bowl Sunday, even though I'm not paying a lot of attention to the NFL, still ends up having like somebody's got to have wings. I got to eat at least one chicken wing on Super Bowl
Yeah.
Sunday, if I can help it. I don't necessarily go out of my way for it, but usually they appear. Somehow you get your hands on wings on
Yeah.
Super Bowl Sunday.
I guess that's true. Whenever I watch football or any other sport, I really enjoy wings or
Yeah.
nachos or something within that realm. But yeah, outside of that, I don't think that there's anything specific.
Do you find, do you think about now, just because of, just because of our lives and whatever, it's not like we both are dealing with a large family here,
Mhm.
where we are to manage. Do you think like, oh my gosh, because I think about this all the time, and food fits into this, but I think my family just didn't have a lot of traditions because they just didn't have a chance to, you know.
Mhm.
Do you find like you'd think, oh, it'd be nice to have some tradition that's just mine? And you, because of the holidays, you do. Like
Mhm.
you, at least on the holidays, you got like a tradition set of things that you're like, I'm gonna do this, those type of things. Do you wish you had more? Do you think you have enough? Do you ever think about it?
Yeah, I don't know, because this has kind of come up recently because when I was a kid, since my parents are divorced,
Mm,
I had multiple Christmases
sure.
and then multiple grandparents with their Christmases. Because I remember like I would have dinner with my grandma and do Christmas with her, and then go to my other grandma's and do Christmas with her,
Mm,
and then I would have Christmas with my dad on Christmas Eve every year, and then I would have actual Christmas Day with my mom every
right,
year. And
right.
they didn't do the alternating. My dad just agreed, like, I'll take your Christmas Eve kind of stuff. And now that I'm an adult, it's sort of shifted. Like, my grandparents aren't here anymore. I do Christmas with my dad whenever it's the most convenient because he's
Sure.
got my stepmom's family and like the grandkids on that side and
Right,
stuff. So
right.
it's not as pack full as it used to be when I was a
Sure,
kid. So I do
sure.
kind of miss that sometimes, but at the same time, I really enjoy my new traditions because I've started adding stuff. So, like, for instance, going back to food over the holidays, our Jewish friend,
Yeah.
they always, it's a Jewish kind of tradition that on Christmas Day you have Chinese food.
Yep.
And me and her have started doing that where we get together on Christmas night
Yep.
and have Chinese food
Yep.
after I've been at my mom's all day. So, like, I've just been sort of replacing what I used to do with new
Sure.
things,
Sure.
and I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. There's a part of me that's like, there's a part of me, but I don't want to force it, but there's a part of me that's like, man, I just wish I had a little bit more tradition,
Yeah.
you know, especially food traditions. Like I wish I had just a day. It wasn't just mine. It was a day where everybody's like, oh yeah, on this day we're gonna do this. Like we're gonna go
Yeah.
over to Garrett's house or we're gonna go somewhere and do a thing. In Utah, at least for Thanksgiving, I had a few friends that we would always do Indian food on Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
So it was like 3 years that we would just go to an Indian food place, which I love that. I love like doing random, you know, food that you wouldn't be able to eat on a holiday because when it came to my family, we got together when we could. You know, like we tried to get together on Thanksgiving and whatever, but
Hmm.
as we kind of spread out and life changed, it's just like okay, well, I'll see you during one of the holidays, and on the other holiday, I'll find some friends and just go do something like that. So
Yeah.
I always think that's fun, and I wish I had. And I'm not. It's not that I'm not festive. Maybe it's just the fact that I've moved a bunch and I don't like collecting stuff I have to move. So
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you've seen my house at Christmas.
Yes, right, right.
I throw up Christmas.
You do, and it's amazing, right? And I'm not. I don't like. In my house, we had a fake Christmas tree, and
Hmm.
my dad would put lights outside. And that was it. My mother didn't particularly care for Christmas decorations that much, so we didn't have a lot in the house. She had some some figures, and my parents are fairly religious, so it would be, just a religious based thing all the way around, but nothing too crazy. And so I never took like one with me where it was like, oh yeah, there's this thing I have to have. A tree was a pain in the ass because I used to get real trees, and then I was the one stuck cleaning them. And
Yeah.
so I'm just like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Um, and so I don't do stuff around the holidays, um, really at all. And I feel like I want to. I just got to find the right thing.
Yeah.
I got to
Need a
find the right
balance.
thing. Yeah, I got to find the right thing. But but food around the holidays is that's still something that I always share with my family. And my family's extended friends used to come over all the time, and they would be in charge of specific foods. Like my family's friends, they would make the best broccoli casserole, basically.
Hmm.
And so we told them, don't show up if you don't have it. If you don't have the broccoli casserole, just don't come over. You won't be allowed in. My dad was always the barbecuer. My parents did a good job of alternating who cooked what on the holidays, which as a kid, I don't remember that. It always seemed like my mom did most of the cooking on the holidays, and I've never asked because I don't want to bring it up. So it was a weird thing for me as I got a little bit older to watch them switch because I was like, oh, How progressive. Well, now, okay, we can all do what we want. But yeah, especially holiday traditions. So, what is your favorite holiday food?
Dressing.
Dressing,
And then sweet potato casserole.
sweet potato casserole. Is the sweet potato casserole? Is this a marshmallow situation?
No, we always did a brown sugar crust, but
Brown
I do
sugar.
like
Yeah.
the marshmallow
Yeah.
tops too.
I prefer the brown sugar crust as well. Though I'm a stringent pro marshmallow in my Rice Krispie and in my s'mores. Other than that, I don't need that much marshmallow.
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah.
I don't need it in my Rice Krispie, but
No, I listen. I understand. I understand. But
so we haven't talked about different cultural foods
yes,
yet.
Yeah, that was the other thing, cultural foods. Specifically because I know that you are a pretty big fan of Mexican food.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you've told me an interesting story about how that's connected to your past, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier, and I was like, what connection is that? But yes, when I was in college, the person that I was dating, his family, they went to one of the local Mexican places every week on Monday nights, and I started going with them, and me and him dated for close to 2 years, I think, maybe close to 3 years now that I think about it. And I went with them almost every week
Yeah.
and got Mexican food.
That's incredible.
Even like there were times where he was out of town because he would go visit like his cousins or somewhere who lived in, I think, Colorado or somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but he would be out of town and his parents would still call me up and be like, you want to come join us? We're going out.
You're like, damn right I do.
And they're the ones who took me when I turned 21. They're the first ones that I actually went out with, and they bought me my first like alcoholic drink. And
there it is. Yep, Mexican food brings people together. My first ever, I am a fan of all cuisines. I think it's funny. I want to say Italian is probably my favorite, even though it's the one I tried not to eat the most of because it's probably the worst for me in a general sense at this point, just the pasta and everything.
Yeah.
It'll get on my ass. But the sushi is an interesting one because I grew up in Dugway, Utah, which Dugway, Utah is a military proving ground. Or it's similar to an arsenal. It's a very small army post. It is notable for having the second longest runway in North America, and it's a backup landing spot for space shuttles. We almost had a space shuttle there one year, and then Dugway got on the closing list, and so we didn't get one. But we got all ramped up for it. We were so excited, but we didn't get one. Dugway is in the West Desert of Utah. There ain't shit around there. So I never had sushi as a kid. It was scary to me. We go to a neighboring town called Tooele, which is not a better place. And there's a Chinese buffet. And so on the holidays, we would go to the Chinese buffet, either Thursday or either Thanksgiving or Christmas. My brother and I would go to the Chinese buffet. And that's where we had our first sushi. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, but it didn't kill us. And we thought, okay, this is interesting. But I stayed away from it because sushi is scary when you don't know. Well, I ended up spending time as working in Logan, Utah, which is where the Utah State University is, and it's just it's a farmland. And this guy I work with is like, "Oh, you've never really had sushi before? Let me take you." So he took me, and he's probably spent $200 on sushi. He got all the favorite kinds.
Oh my gosh!
But the first one he ever gave me it was shrimp, and it had its tail. And he said, "No, you got to eat the tail." He's like, "Especially if it's your first time, you got to eat the tail." So I ate the tail.
It's very crunchy.
It was unpleasant, but it was unique in that it was just like it christened me, right? I was like, okay, I ate a shrimp, I ate the tail the first time, like I did it, I'm in, because it was really good. It was way better than it deserved to be in Logan, Utah. It was very good, and so then after that, I have a very big love for sushi. I was in Vegas this past weekend, and one of the automatic go-to spots now is a place called Sushi Neko, which you guys should look up. It has all-you-can-eat sushi.
Mm-hmm.
You get 90 minutes, and it's like $30. And I go there every time, and I eat way more to where I can't stand, and it's amazing. So of the foods I can eat regularly, sushi is maybe the number one. food I
Interesting.
enjoy. That may be the number one thing that if I could only choose one type of food, I might choose sushi.
Oh man, if I could only choose one, it would be a toss-up between Mexican or Italian.
Yeah.
Because I love wine,
Yeah.
and if I'm at home and I'm cooking, I cook a lot of pasta and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a tough one or the other. Sushi, I'm not a huge fan. I have no problem with it. Like
Sure.
I'll go out and yeah, I can order some rolls or something, but it's not my favorite.
Sure. Which my mother, she'll go with me because she likes it if it's a fried roll. She's like, they got to cook it. I can't eat it uncooked.
Yeah.
And she's like, they got to cook it, and I'll have some. And she loves it when they're cooking it, and she loves like edamame and stuff. But she's like, I got to cook it. My dad, it's not about it.
Yeah.
It's
My first time having sushi was I was on a date. I think I was in high school. I was in high school. And he said he was going to pick the food. He was like, "Just trust me. I know what I'm doing." And I was like, "Yeah, okay."
All right.
He ordered sashimi, which I don't recommend for your very first time
No,
eating
it's
anything
not
because
ideal.
it is fully raw
Yep.
on just like a little bed of rice. It's
Yep.
not in a roll. There's nothing
Nope.
extra with it. Like
Nope.
it was
You can't
was a
hide the
tough-
texture at all.
Yeah, it was a tough eat
Yeah.
for somebody who's,
Yep.
Yep. However old I was, 17
Yeah.
probably.
That's bad.
And so I was scared to eat it for a long time. And then
That's
I had a
5 years ago.
California roll with some other friends who really wanted to go get sushi at one point, and
Yeah.
I just ordered teriyaki, didn't want
Yeah.
to deal with it.
Yeah.
And they let me try part of their roll, and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
now I can, like,
can
I
get
found
them.
things that I actually do enjoy with it, but
Yeah.
it took a while.
What's your favorite Italian of all Italians? People or food? The way I asked that question left you open.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I love a really good bolognese.
Okay.
When we went to Napa last year, a bunch of the girls did, and I ordered bolognese at one of the places that we went to, some fancy restaurant, and it was the best I've ever had.
Yeah, you've talked about it more than once, so I knew that was.
And it was so good. And every time that I'm in town, like we ordered pizza tonight, I almost, because it was an Italian place we ordered from, I almost ordered the rigatoni bolognese just to see how theirs was. But it just, so many places are not as good as what that place was.
You don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that because I am a huge fan of biscuits and gravy.
Mm-hmm.
And I dated a woman from Kentucky that made the biscuits and gravy from scratch, sausage gravy and biscuits.
Oh man.
And I can't get to that high ever again. And so I just avoid it. Like I've had good biscuits and gravy, but it's never that biscuits and gravy, and it just makes me sad.
Yeah, that's always tough because I've done that before where I've ordered biscuits and gravy because they just sound so good.
Sounds so good.
And then you get them and they're just so bland.
It's just either floury gravy, or it's just bland.
Yeah.
Oh man. Kills me.
That reminds me, chicken and dumplings is another one that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because I have made them completely from scratch, my dumplings, and
Nice.
taste no different than just doing the cheap way and going with Pillsbury.
Yeah, but like she would sometimes let me get grands because I'd get the grands so I could talk her into making it more, so that she would, because a barrier to making it is like, look, if I'm gonna make this all from scratch, it's gonna be special.
Mhm.
Like it'll be a football Sunday, like football Saturday or football Sunday. It's like I might talk her into biscuits and gravy in the morning and then grilled cheese and chili at night, and like that'll be perfect. But it's got to be special. But I'm just like, look, if I just get the grands, we all like the grands, and you just make the gravy. It's not as intensive. Make it. But she just had to stop making it because I would eat it until my stomach got upset.
Yeah.
Because and we have sausage patties and grits, and I'd put the gravy on just everything. So I'd have sausage gravy on sausage. Like it was problematic. I talked to her about it. We still talk, and so probably at least once a quarter, I'm like, oh, by the way, if I ever see you again, she lives in Wyoming, so it's not a lot of a chance. But if I ever see you again, this has got to happen. Like you've ruined this for me.
Yeah.
And you got to make it right. Damn it. Okay. On the way out of the episode, favorite dessert?
Well, I gotta say my Rice Krispie treats.
Yeah, your Rice Krispie treats are pretty good. Yeah. My mother's spice cake is probably my favorite.
Actually, no, my favorite, going back to childhood,
Yeah.
Funfetti is still my favorite.
Funfetti.
I get Funfetti cupcakes every single year on my birthday.
Funfetti is nice. It's nice. Have you ever had a black bottom cupcake?
No.
That I would call it my favorite, except it's another one that I knew one person that made them, and he made them brilliantly, and I've never had them since. So I can't even call them it because I can't just go get them anymore.
Yeah.
But they're like, so they've got the cupcake on the outside, and then inside is it's like a cream cheese, but it's a little hard, it's like hardened a little bit, and it's got chocolate chips in it. But so when it's hot, it's like, it's not gooey, but it's still creamy. And it's just like sits in the middle. That's another thing. I guess I'm just thinking of foods that I ate till I got sick. So we would go to his house and we would play role-playing games, the group of us, and he would make like 30 of them, and I would probably eat 10 that night, and then I would be constipated for a week. And I'd do it every time. Do it every time. Never scared. Oh, all right. We went around the world in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did a good job. I cannot wait to splice clips of this with pictures of food on the internet. It's coming. The multimedia barrage is coming. As soon as I find the energy to start getting you guys to listen to this podcast, you're gonna listen to this podcast. Don't you worry. But anyway, thank you for listening to this one, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Goodbye.